everyone, this is Julia.
And this is Chris, and welcome back to episode number 22 of A Bar Above's Mixology Talk podcast, where we simplify cocktails and bartending techniques so you can make great drinks at home.
So this week, we were lucky enough to get some time with Steven from Diep9 Genever. He has a great perspective on Genever gin since he actually grew up in Belgium, where it's extremely common.
And he also, I believe, is a brand ambassador for Diep9 Genever as well.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
he knows a thing or two about Genever, that's for sure. So he's going to talk a bit about Genever's history, how it's made, and what makes it different from other kinds of gin, and perhaps most importantly, how to use it in cocktails as well.
Definitely most important. So let's get into it.
Hi everyone, so we're here with my friend Steven from Diep9 Genever, and we're going to talk really quickly about what is Genever, how is it different from gin, and some ways to use it in cocktails, and maybe a fun story or two. This is one of my favorite spirits. I love the history of this product, and the more you learn about this kind of stuff, the more interesting our business really becomes. So that was definitely the case when I learned more about Genever. So everybody, this is Steven.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, of course. Yeah, thanks for coming out. So you represent the only Belgian-made Genever, correct, in the United States?
Well, yeah, we are the first Belgian Genever available in the US. The name is Diep9. Diep means is a Flemish word for a lot of history. Because Genever basically goes back 500 years, and the 9 stands for the 9 botanicals that we use in the Genever.
Nice, excellent. That's really cool. And so, can you tell us a little bit about the history of Genever? And I've always heard the term that Genever is kind of like the predecessor of gin. And that's kind of how everything kind of evolved into what we currently know as the London dry style of gin. It all kind of started with Genever.
So Genever started around 13th century in Belgium as for medicinal purposes. And then after a while, around 15th century, we found the first printed recipe for Genever in Antwerp by Philippus Hermanni. And then after that, we had a war in Belgium, and where English people helped us out there. And so they saw that Dutch soldiers were fighting with a lot of passion and stuff like that. And they also figured out that we drink a lot from.
Yeah, no, I heard the word before, Dutch courage. As a kind of a correlation to Genever.
Exactly.
And this is the way they kind of got their courage up a little bit.
So they saw that we fought with a lot of passion, and they saw that we had like this little bottle on our belt, back then. And so they found it really interesting, and they brought it back to their country. And so Genever was popular in England, and after a while, it disappeared a little bit, and people tried to imitate this Genever. In England. The hard part about imitating a Genever is the malt wine, so they couldn't quite get that part. Malt wine is the heart of a Genever. So what they came up with was just a neutral grain spirit of a Genever, and that is basically gin. So
I see. So when they were trying to kind of replicate Genever as a style, they couldn't quite get that whole malting process down, getting the base of the spirit, so they just went with a neutral grain spirit like a vodka. And essentially made what is currently called London dry style from vodka. Yeah.
Basically, after they tried to copy Genever at home, they came up with bathtub gin. And then the first gin after the bathtub gin, was the Old Tom. So that was basically the first gin that came out of Genever.
Oh, no kidding.
A little bit more sweeter, a little bit more maltier. And then after the Old Tom, you got Plymouth gin, and then after that you got the London Dry, and that is basically the dominant style now. It's more heavy on juniper and stuff like that, and
doesn't quite have that malty backbone that Genever has for sure.
Exactly, yeah.
Now,
nothing wrong with gin, by the way. It's just the story of how gin came out of Genever.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. Like the history of spirits and everything has always fascinated me. And you actually, you guys have a book too.
Yes.
About the history of Genever and the long history of Genever and kind of how it's really kind of played its way through the spirits industry. And one of my favorite stories was kind of really focusing on something I didn't know anything about was prohibition. That was in Belgium until like the 80s, I want to say.
Exactly, yeah. It was from 1999 till 1985. So we had a prohibition on Genever for 66 years.
Holy cow.
A little bit the story as with absinthe. They had also a prohibition. I mean, they couldn't drink it for a while.
Right.
So they had a prohibition on Genever in Belgium. We were not allowed to drink it in bars, but people, in certain shops, you could still buy it. Mm-hmm. But then in a big volume of 2 liters, and it was very expensive. So it was only something for people who were a little bit better off, But in bars, we couldn't drink it till 1985, and then after that, we got an explosion of Genever bars in Belgium.
Oh, nice! Yeah. All right. Now, one of the interesting things that I heard as a correlation to kind of this whole prohibition thing was the fact that the rise in Belgian beers was kind of a byproduct of that whole thing. Like all of a sudden you have these really hearty Belgian beers with really high octane, like a really high alcohol content as kind of a byproduct of not being able to buy spirit.
Exactly, totally. So we had this prohibition in Belgium, and all the Genever lovers were like, where is our Genever, And so people had to come up with something to please those Genever drinkers. So we already had a couple of beers like that, but then really during that period, our beer culture really exploded, and people came up with beers with a higher alcohol level, like Trappist and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was that period. It's actually thanks to Genever that we have like this beer culture explosion in Belgium.
Oh, nice. So that's one of the benefits, I guess, of the prohibition, unfortunately, right?
Exactly.
Oh, that's really crazy.
Yeah.
So you were telling me a story earlier about a really good cocktail bar that you went into and had an amazing cocktail with Genever.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a prohibition-style cocktail bar, a noble experiment. And it was pretty amazing. We had to figure out first where it was, and then it was a bar in a bar. We had to walk through the toilets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we had to push on a wall of fake beer cakes.
Right.
And then suddenly the door opened for us. So okay, finally we were there, and then I talked with Trevor Easter. He worked there, and I told him like, hey, I got some Belgium Genever for you. He was really excited about it, and he basically made for me the best fizz in my life there.
Nice.
That was crazy.
And it was like on the spot, without even like
on the spot, like in a couple of seconds, he made 4 or 5 amazing cocktails with our Genever, and I was really, really blown away by it.
Nice.
It's really good.
Yeah, so if you're in San Diego, you're looking for a good bar, Trevor Easter's bar, the Noble Experiment down there, doing really good cocktails.
Really amazing cocktails, yeah.
And you can try the product down there, right? I assume your Diep9.
Yeah, the Genever.
Nice.
Yeah, I gave him a couple of bottles, so
oh, perfect.
I hope they're still there. Maybe not, but that's also good.
Do you have any other cocktails that you typically recommend using Genever with?
There are a lot of good cocktails with Genever. A lot of classic cocktails, like you already know, were originally made with Genever, so before gin. So my favorites we have 2 types of Genever, an old Genever and a young Genever. It got nothing to do with the aging process. It got to do with the distilling techniques and the level of malt wine in those different Genevers. So an old Genever needs to have at least 15% of malt wine. Mm-hmm. And like a young Genever has to have max 15% also of that malt wine. So for me, some good cocktails with the old Genever is old fashioned.
Oh yeah, okay.
I really like that.
Nice.
With old Genever, you really taste the rye in there. We have rye, barley, and wheat in our Genever. Martinez is really good with old Genever.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, really tastes good with it. And for the young Genever, like I said, a fizz is really good. A lot of gin cocktails are really amazing with it. Gimlets really good with it.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about Genever for me, especially the old Genever, is since it has that really nice kind of malty profile that you usually associate with whiskey, and bourbon in particular, that you can use them as a nice replacement for some whiskey cocktails and having a really great expression for a cocktail, because you do have a little bit of the botanical focus that you just don't get from a whiskey. So it offers this whole new cocktail. It's a really fun ingredient to play with for sure. So
yeah, it's basically like a whiskey with botanicals in there.
Yeah.
So that is we start out with a white whiskey, and then we combine it with a neutral grain spirit. And then we, also add botanicals. So it's basically a whiskey and a gin together in one spirit.
It sounds pretty tasty already.
Yeah. Exactly.
And one of the things that you mentioned before, and is in pre-prohibition cocktails, this was the dominant gin back in the day.
Yeah.
So if you look back in a lot of those classic cocktail recipes, and you see the word Holland gin,
or just gin,
or gin in general, yeah. It is a reference to Genever.
Exactly.
So so next time you're trying a pre-prohibition style cocktail like the Martinez, this is a really great opportunity to try something new and come up with a really fantastic cocktail.
Totally.
So maybe you can tell us, because I've butchered this name so many times. How do you say Genever? Is it Genever?
Well, I really like Jennifer also. A lot of people say Jennifer in the US, and it's like the name. It sounds really exotic, and I love it.
Yeah.
So, Genever, also a nice pronunciation of the word, of the spirit. In Belgium, we say Genever.
Genever?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I butchered that as well.
Yeah. But Genever, I love it.
Now, what is one of the ways that you actually consume Genever in Belgium? Is there like a drinking history with it? Do you drink it in cocktails? Do you drink it on its own? Do you drink it, with a beer? How does it usually be consumed in Belgium?
Well, we basically consume it pure as a shot.
Okay.
And we have like a tradition for that, a ritual actually. So we basically we fill our shot glass completely till more than above of the rim, and then we basically bend over with our hands on our back, and then we slurp the first sip because we don't want to spill this liquid, and then we take it and we drink it as a shot.
Oh, okay.
But of course we combine it also because we're Belgians, we combine it with Belgian beer. And we call that kopstootje.
Kopstootje.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So the translation of that is actually a little headbutt,
Nice. Because you're putting your head down towards the bar, kind of thing, or is it some other reason?
Exactly. Yeah, also that, but it's because it's like a combination of a beer and a Genever.
Oh, I see.
And it's pretty like heavy to drink, and they say you get like a little headbutt from it.
Oh, nice! I like that. Okay. So the double meaning, that's cool.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we combine it with beers. The old Genever we combine it with a little more heavier beers. The young Genever we combine it with like lighter beers such as Stella Artois or something like that, or Hoegaarden. It's terrific in cocktails. Now I see there's a trend coming up in Belgium that there are more and more cocktail bars in Belgium using Genever, so that's a good trend to see.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and talking about Genever and Genever.
Genever.
And, telling us a great story about it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, check out our book. It calls Genever 500 Years of History in a Bottle.
And we'll definitely have the link to that in our show notes. And I cannot recommend this book highly enough. Me as kind of a history nerd with spirits and the spirits industry, there is so much great information in this book that it's really, really amazing. So we'll definitely have a link to that in the show notes. So check out our website at mixologytalk.com/22. So thanks again, Steven. And
thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And we'll have some more
Genever.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have some now. But we'll have another podcast for you guys here in a few days. So cheers, everyone.
Thanks again to Steven for coming on and chatting with us, making us feel just a little better about not knowing how to pronounce Genever.
Genever?
Genever?
I don't even know what's going on right now.
Jim?
So next week we have another interview with a fellow bartender and podcaster, Brian Weber from Bartender Journey. So come back next week and hear how he got started.
So head on over to mixologytalk.com/22 for the show notes. And until then, we'll see you next week.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Never miss an episode by subscribing in iTunes or YouTube. And as always, check out the show notes by clicking on the right.